Your great-great-grandparents never once set an alarm for 9 a.m. And some of them were richer than you. Before the cubicle, the commute, and the time clock ever existed, Americans were already building wealth in ways so creative that most of us have completely forgotten them. Today we're uncovering 20 of those methods. And spoiler, more than a few still work right now. Number 1. The traveling peddler. Picture a man with a mule loaded to the brim, walking farm to farm in the 1700s. That was the peddler. He bought cheap merchandise in the cities: needles, buttons, fabric, spices, medicine of questionable reputation, and resold it in rural areas where settlers had no access to stores. The margins were brutal in the best way. Some peddlers accumulated enough capital to open their own shops. Aaron Montgomery Ward, founder of America's first mail-order catalog, started as a traveling salesman. The peddler was essentially a one-man Amazon. No warehouse, no algorithm, just hustle and a good memory for what people needed last time he came through. Number 2. Ice harvesting. Before refrigerators existed, ice was a luxury commodity. And someone had to cut it. Every winter, crews of men would go out onto frozen lakes and rivers in New England, score the surface into giant blocks with handsaws, drag them to shore, pack them in sawdust, and ship them to wealthy homes, hotels, and restaurants as far away as India and South America. Frederick Tudor, known as the Ice King of Boston, built a global empire from frozen water. His workers earned good daily wages at a time when most farmers were broke in January. Ice harvesting was the gig economy of the 19th century, seasonal, physical, and surprisingly lucrative. Number 3. The tavern keeper. In colonial America, the tavern wasn't just a place to drink. It was the internet, the courthouse, the job board, and the news network all in one room. Tavern keepers. Many of them women, earned money from food, ale, lodging, and the simple fact that everyone came through eventually. Political deals were struck there. Land was bought and sold. Letters were left for travelers passing through. A well-run tavern in a good location was a money-printing machine. Some of the most influential women in early American commerce ran taverns, because it was one of the few businesses where female ownership was socially accepted. Number 4. Bounty hunting and land speculation. After the Revolutionary War, the new American government had a problem: it was land-rich and cash-poor. So it paid soldiers and settlers in land grants instead of money. Smart operators figured out quickly that they could buy those land certificates from broke veterans for pennies on the dollar, then redeem them for actual land once the territories opened up. This was legal. This was common. And this made some men extraordinarily wealthy. It was essentially trading distressed assets, the same logic hedge funds use today, just with dirt instead of derivatives. Number 5. Rendering and tallow making. Nothing in early America went to waste, especially not a dead animal. Tallow makers collected animal fat from farms, butcher shops, and households and rendered it into candles and soap. Every home needed both. It was unglamorous, it smelled terrible, and it was one of the most stable small businesses a person could run in the 1700s and 1800s. Benjamin Franklin's father was a tallow chandler, a candle and soap maker, in Boston. Young Ben grew up watching a man turn animal fat into a reliable income. The lesson wasn't lost on him. Number 6. The post rider. Before the telegraph, before the railroad, information traveled at the speed of a horse. Post riders were paid to carry letters, newspapers, and official documents between towns. The job required knowing the roads, the weather, and the shortcuts that maps didn't show. It was dangerous river crossings, bandits, broken bridges, but it paid well because reliability was everything. Some post riders built small networks, hiring other riders and essentially running early courier businesses. The Pony Express, which lasted only 18 months, is the most famous version of this, but the underlying business model had existed for over a century before it. Number 7. Midwifery. For most of American history, women gave birth at home attended by a midwife, not a doctor. Midwives were among the most essential and consistently paid professionals in any community. A skilled midwife with a good reputation could be called out at any hour and expected fair payment in cash, goods, or both. In rural communities where coin was scarce, midwives were often paid in flour, butter, firewood, or livestock. Martha Ballard, a midwife in Maine, kept a diary from 1785 to 1812 that documented over 800 deliveries and a thriving income-generating practice. She was, by every measure, a working professional without ever setting foot in a formal institution. Number 8. Timber framing and barn raising. Skilled carpenters in early America didn't clock in at a lumberyard. They moved from property to property, hired for specific jobs, building barns, frames, mills, bridges. The barn raising was a community event, but the master carpenter who designed and directed it was paid. A single barn frame, properly built, could take a skilled crew a week and represent more money than a farmer earned in a month of crops. These men traveled with their tools, built their reputations by the quality of what stood behind them, and never needed a boss telling them when to show up. Number 9. Selling patent medicine. This one is morally complicated, but it was enormously profitable. Patent medicines, tonics, elixirs, bitters, syrups were sold everywhere in 19th century America with bold claims and little regulation. Some were harmless. Some contained alcohol, cocaine, or opiates. All of them were marketed aggressively. Traveling medicine shows combined entertainment and sales into one spectacle. Dr. H. H. Warner made millions. Lydia Pinkham's vegetable compound became a household name. The lesson here isn't to sell snake oil, it's that the marriage of storytelling and commerce has always been one of the most powerful income generators in American history. Number 10. The subscription printer. Before newspapers had advertisers, they had subscribers. Printers in colonial America would go door to door or send notices collecting subscriptions before they printed a single issue. Benjamin Franklin mastered this. He'd secure enough paying subscribers to cover the print run, then any additional copies sold were pure profit. It was a pre-sale model, 2 centuries before Kickstarter existed. The printer who understood his market before spending a dime on ink was the printer who stayed in business. Number 11. Ferryman. Rivers were the highways of early America. And everywhere there was a crossing, there was a man with a flat-bottomed boat charging a fee. Ferrymen held licenses granted by colonial governments and operated at choke points of commerce, river crossings near towns, fords on major roads, harbors connecting islands to the mainland. Some ferry operations were handed down through families for generations. George Washington's family operated a ferry across the Potomac. It wasn't glamorous, but it was positioned at a point of genuine necessity, and that is always worth money.